November 2016, the ABC television showed Streets of Your Town, in which Tim Ross examined some of the history of domestic architecture in Australia, including examples of the simplicity and minimalism of some houses of the 50s and 60s. I was reminded of our own home and those which inspired it, and it seemed a pity that no record of it would exist. We married in December 1954 as two impecunious teachers and set up house in a rather dilapidated flat in Ruthven Mansions in Pulteney Street, Adelaide, with no thought of building a house. In the previous January, we'd visited Bronte's brother Dean and his wife Jenny in their new home in Donvale, Victoria, and been delighted with the little house with its open plan, modern furnishings, a display of paintings and pottery. Very different from our previous experience. The only gesture we could afford was to order one Featherston chair, which they would bring when they travelled to Adelaide for our wedding. 5 months later, Bronte's father died suddenly, and it was decided that we would move in with his mother while we built a house, with her helping to finance the project and coming to live with us. She never did. After 13 months, including the first 6 months of our first baby's life, we all realised it was not a good idea. A block of land was purchased at Wattle Park, close to a new development on former vineyard, for £535, and we searched for an architect. We were keen to have a house designed by Don Thompson, who had designed the gun house at McAllen Avenue, Burnside. Despite Graham's advice, he would not recommend him. Don thought he could meet our requirements and tiny budget, and arranged builders, a pair of excellent bricklayers who looked forward to more commissions as a result of this one. With an unorthodox plan and their lack of experience as builders, the process included many problems and probably bankrupted them. Although this may not have been inevitable, the contract price was £3,650. On the day that the foundations were poured, a friend drove Bronte to see them. He was horrified when reinforcing rods, which should have been hooked into others below, proved to be much too short and able to be pulled out. So the foundations had to be relaid. Not a promising start. The door and window frames were then rejected by Don, another unnecessary waste causing frustrating delays, and the builders had not laid the plumbing before pouring the foundations. Some time after we moved in, the dampness of the cement floors revealed the fact that a quick drying compound had been used instead of waterproofing, necessitating the addition of a new surface. Later still, when we wanted a carport for the car we had not imagined being able to afford, we discovered that a wall had extended onto the adjoining block and had to purchase about a foot of land from our neighbours. The only way we were able to move in months later than hoped was to set a deadline when Dean and Jenny were to visit with Anna, aged 2, and baby Michael. It must have been a nightmarish holiday, in winter with mud everywhere, workmen arriving early each morning, and one baby determined to attack the other in the playpen. Jenny queried the varied colours Don had specified for doors and drawers, saying that she felt colour should come from paintings, to which he replied that he'd not realised it was to be an art gallery. She was right, of course, that over the years the colours changed and more art duly arrived. With little possibility for extension, unlike the Donvale house, which later expanded considerably, we only added the carport and moved the northern wall of the dining room out. As the family grew, 2 rooms and a bathroom were built separately in the back garden. It was a wonderful house to live in until we sold it in 1988 for $149,000, with both potential buyers planning to demolish. Many memories of children growing up and family and friends entertained remain, and its successor at Norwood carries on many ideas from Wattle Park and Don Thompson. I've referred to him as the designer, as he was not at that time a fully qualified architect.
In my mind, I see you like a child. I see you higher than the clouds where I'm with you. Another life, I'll be holding you. I'll be here when you get home. I'll be ready if you ever get home. Hold me, don't worry, baby.
So here he is, Contemporary Designers Collaborative, Architects, Industrial, Interior Designers, Adelaide.
No name.
No.
There's no, his name's nowhere on it, I'm sure.
Isn't that that possibly is because he wasn't actually an architect.
That's right. I mean, the only way we could afford it was to have it very small, and it needed to be open planned. You couldn't have lived in that
No.
house. They were all migrants,
Yes.
the people who built the house. The builders were called Turter and Ruder, I think.
How do you spell Turter? T-U-R-T-U-R?
Well, like the...
Mike, like the
I think
cyclist.
so.
The
I think he
cyclist.
probably his father. Oh, I'm not sure.
Ruder.
I don't know.
Can't remember.
Nicky, probably R-U-D-E-R, but it might not have been. But they were bricklayers, as I said.
Yes, and you're happy living there, even though obviously there was, you know, some issues about build quality and...
It was a very comfortable house. Well, it was our house, so we lived in it, and that was the way we wanted to live, I suppose. We didn't have a car for quite a while, so we had to be very organised about shopping, and the shops were quite a long walk away. Old people used to deliver. We had lots of dinner parties, and we both work in the kitchen. Dad used to help a lot in the kitchen, and you could talk to people over the top of the wall, so you weren't missing out on anything. And I suppose if you have 4 children, you learn to be quite organised. So we were quite organised, and we'd have 6 or 8 people to dinner. They were good. We had a lot of interesting friends. I remember being embarrassed when Ruth Gilding brought 2 Aboriginal girls to visit one day, and I heard one say to the other, "Lot of money," because to me, we were quite poor. We lived on we were living on one school teacher's salary, but we weren't. Of course, we were not poor. It was quite sobering.
This is it being demolished in 1988.
So you sold it in 88?
Yeah.